Elon Musk, a symbol of innovation and the desire to conquer the cosmos, has always amazed the technology and science communities with his far-reaching vision. To those in tech, he is a pioneering visionary whose ideas inspire awe. To ordinary people, he is an eccentric who turned electric cars into a trend and rockets into reusable vehicles. As the force behind SpaceX and Tesla, Musk has spent decades pushing past all limits, transforming ideas that once sounded like science fiction into bold projects that open up new horizons for humanity. His passion isn't just about technology. It's a narrative about the future, about reaching for what no one has ever dared to imagine. He doesn't just want to send humans to Mars, he wants to change the way we think about ourselves in this vast universe. Out there, in the endless expanse, mysteries linger like whispers in the dark. For most of us, the stars are merely sparkling points of light in the night sky. But for Musk, they are puzzles waiting to be solved, gateways to answers that humanity has never dared to seek. So, when a strange signal flickered from a distant star millions of light years away from Earth, detected by NASA and SpaceX observatories on a cold winter morning, Musk could not remain idle. This was no ordinary signal. The light from that star oscillated in a peculiar way, following a rhythm that defied comprehension. The scientists at SpaceX named it the energy field. Musk believed that this was no ordinary star. He immediately shared with his colleagues that he believed this star might be the key to exploring parallel universes. The story begins at the SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, in a windowless conference room where the white LED lights illuminate tense faces. Musk enters, his shirt rumpled, his hair disheveled as if he's just awoken from a wild dream. Before him stand his closest associates, Sarah, an engineer who once worked with NASA, Ravi Patel, a quantum physicist with wild, silver-streaked hair reminiscent of Einstein, and Mark Jensen, a former test pilot who once flew through a war zone. There's no coffee, no pleasantries. Musk dives straight into the matter. He spreads out a star map on the table, pointing at a small, bright spot representing the strange signal, and speaks in a firm tone, "This isn't a coincidence. I believe it's a gateway to somewhere we've never been." A few in the room chuckle, thinking he's joking, but their smiles fade when Musk unveils the design of a new spacecraft, Apollo X. Apollo X is unlike any spacecraft SpaceX has ever built. It isn't just meant to travel into space or land on Mars. It's designed to traverse space and time, testing technologies that even the boldest scientists haven't dared to dream of. Musk doesn't want to publicize this project to the world. He knows it's too sensitive, too outlandish for the public to accept right away. Instead of a press conference, he opts to work in the shadows, sharing details only with a small group he completely trusts. He assembles a seasoned team from all over, quantum physics experts who once worked at CERN in Switzerland, energy engineers from Tesla with crazy ideas about mini-reactors, and a neuroscientist named Clara Voss, who believes that the human brain can communicate with multidimensional space if awakened. Each person is assigned a specific task. Sarah is to design the engine, Ravi is to calculate the energy field, Clara is to study the impact of alien space on the mind, and Jensen volunteers to lead the flight. The construction of Apollo X was a race against destiny itself. Musk transformed the SpaceX headquarters into a colossal beehive, where engineers worked around the clock, coffee flowed like a river, and the hum of machinery never ceased. He often slept right on the office floor, his head resting on an old backpack, just to keep a close eye on every detail. The spacecraft's engine was a marvel powered by a mini nuclear reactor, generating thrust strong enough to bend space. The automated control system was programmed to adapt to the most bizarre conditions, from oscillating energy fields to warped regions of space never seen before. Clara designed a crew protection cabin with an energy-absorbing shell, while Sarah built a communication system capable of sending signals across millions of light years. Musk personally inspected every component, sometimes grabbing a wrench to tighten a loose bolt, leaving the engineers both in awe and shaking their heads in disbelief. But not everyone believed in this dream. Some scientists within the team began to worry, whispering among themselves during breaks that Musk was pushing too far. Ravi, the chief calculator of the group, once pulled him aside and warned, "If we're wrong, we could tear space apart, and who knows what might spill through." Musk listened, then burst into laughter, clapped Ravi on the shoulder, and replied with his signature confidence, "If we don't fail spectacularly a few times, it means we haven't tried hard enough." It was the unwavering belief that failure is simply the stepping stone to greatness. And for Musk, greatness wasn't a choice, it was the goal. After more than 2 years of intense work, Apollo X was completed. It stood tall on the launch pad in Texas, its gleaming titanium shell reflecting the sunlight like a defiant flame. Launch day had arrived, and the SpaceX team gathered in the control room, their excitement mingled with anxiety. 4 astronauts boarded the spacecraft, Jensen leading the team, accompanied by Lena Ortiz, Tom Carver, and Aisha. Musk stood before a massive screen, calm as ever on the outside, but his hands were clenched into fists. He knew everything had to be perfect. Even a tiny mistake could reduce all their efforts to ashes. The flight began smoothly. Apollo X ascended beyond Earth's orbit, carrying with it the hopes and worries of hundreds of people back in Hawthorne. The signals from the spacecraft came in steadily, and Jensen joked over the intercom, "If we encounter any aliens, I'll invite them for coffee." But then, as Apollo X approached the region of space near that mysterious star, everything changed. The signals began to distort, and the screens in the control room flickered erratically. Jensen sent back a brief message, his voice tight with tension, yet laced with astonishment. "We're seeing cracks. Space is fracturing." The control room fell silent. Cracks in space? Something that had never appeared in any physics textbook. Musk leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen, while Ravi hurriedly ran simulations on his computer. The signal from Apollo X became chaotic. The light around the spacecraft dimmed gradually and then vanished completely. Lena reported that the stars surrounding them were no longer moving along their orbits, but instead hovered like lost, wayward specks of light. Jensen added, his voice choked, "I feel it's not even me anymore." Then, like a sharp, sudden cut, the communication was severed. A high-pitched, piercing tone blared through the speakers, then fell silent. Apollo X was missing. 3 days passed under an unbearable tension. Musk refused to leave the control room, surviving on nothing but sandwiches and adrenaline, unwilling to accept that the spacecraft was lost. He ordered every SpaceX satellite to scan the skies, analyzing every byte of data, even as the team began to lose hope. In a corner of the room, Sarah wept quietly, Ravi muttered incomprehensible equations, and Clara stared blankly at the empty screens. On the 3rd day, when the atmosphere was incredibly heavy, a faint signal flickered to life. Jensen's voice came through, trembling, "We came back!" The room erupted in cheers. Musk pounded his fist on the table, a rare smile breaking across his face like sunlight after a storm. Apollo X returned, landing in Nevada, carrying astronauts with distant, haunted eyes, and a story that no one would dare believe. Jensen recounted what they had seen, a boundless space where the stars did not obey their orbits, glowing clouds drifting as if they were alive, and, most strangely, shapeless beings silently watching them from afar. They didn't communicate with words, but Aisha felt as though they understood her, as if a current of thought had passed through her mind. Even more astonishing, Tom saw other versions of himself, faint, shadowy figures in a parallel reality, standing there, looking back at him with curious eyes. Data from Apollo X confirmed the undeniable truth: parallel universes exist. Musk sat in silence, feeling insignificant before the vast cosmos for the first time in his life. Yet he wasn't afraid. He was exhilarated. This was a beginning, not an end. However, he decided to keep the discovery absolutely secret. He called his team into an emergency meeting, his tone deep and resolute. "The world isn't ready. We'll keep this to ourselves, at least for now. Those beings, whether friend or foe, remain a huge enigma, and I don't want to awaken something that humanity isn't prepared to face." Project Apollo X was subsequently locked down. The astronauts were quarantined in a secret facility in Nevada, while the data was transferred to an underground laboratory under Musk's and his small team's supervision. He began studying the strange sounds captured by the spacecraft, high frequencies that sounded like the song of another dimension. He dreamed of new technology, a device capable of communicating with parallel universes, a spacecraft even more powerful than Apollo X to return. For Musk, this journey was not only a turning point in space exploration, but also an affirmation that humanity could overcome any limit, even if it meant paying the price with questions that remain unanswered in the endless darkness. And as he gazed at the night sky from his empty office, Musk knew that he would never stop.